Ooh, let's go.
Hello. Everyone good? We're all good.
Yes, sir.
Rhetoric and Reason, episode 1, The Porn Problem. Chase, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
90% of men have admitted to consuming pornography in the past year. What does that mean about the culture?
Yeah. Obviously, that's like an alarmingly high number of men, of adults. I assume that statistic is like just adults, which is like crazy that many men are spending time like searching for this fake connection on a computer screen, and that it's just so new too in regards to like looking at it from a historical perspective, like online, having this thing in your pocket that you can just pull out at any time, to like for whatever reason, it's really prevalent among just like guys. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very crazy.
And yeah, porn is such an absolute new technology, and I think we have so many young men with this problem, and they just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give to anyone struggling in this space?
Yeah. I'd say there's a lot of help in like, just going to talk to someone about it. It's obviously a very like shameful thing to like experience. And yeah, a lot of those like thoughts that you goes through your head when you like fall into lust, fall into pornography or whatever it is like, oh, I can't talk to anyone about this, or like people are just gonna see me differently or hate me more. But like my experience with it is like, no, like as you saw, the statistic is 90% of men, guys struggle with this or have like at least experienced it. And I think just going and talking to like a brother about it and being like, hey, like, how do I stop this? Or like, I don't like this, like, and I want to do it still. Like, how do I get through this? And usually just going to find a resource to a good guy who knows, who's experienced with it. That just bringing that to light can just be the first step, I feel like.
I think it's interesting how you bring up like shame and anxiety, because you'll hear people on the pro-masturbation, pro-porn side, they'll say this is something that releases stress. Of course it does that for a time. Obviously we know, just through the effects. But when that shame and that guilt creeps in, it can get into a very wicked and violent cycle. And I think that's exactly where it puts you. Yeah. And I think a lot of men suffer from that. I mean, we know depression and anxiety rates skyrocket when you experience pornography.
Yeah.
I was reading that 55% of men that try to stop watching porn claim to do so because of mental health reasons, that they have this negative effect mentally, and probably part of that is due to shame. So there's a large group of men that want to be free from this, but there's a smaller group of men that find that freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such an artificial thing, and it trains your mind to be sexually active in such an unauthentic way. I mean, I even think of people that have come to myself and spoke about their struggles with this addiction and with the content they're consuming. I mean, they all of a sudden they have shame talking to women. They're less confident about women, and that creates a dynamic from both sides, both genders, of just how do we get back and connect with one another. Again, statistics show that we're having less sex in this generation. People are getting together less, and that goes into a problem of porn, social media, things like that. But we're just not connecting at an authentic level anymore. And I just have a question. Have you seen, even in your own life or within your friend groups, have you seen that fight where people want to get together less? They're spending more time on their phones. What has your battle kind of been with that?
Oh, 100%. Like, growing up, you notice it is like my generation. I'm 23 years old, and so smartphones came up and became like really popular. Probably like 2008, 2009, somewhere around that time. So like that point, like, so my generation has been like with smartphones since like we could remember, like since we had like memories. And that's how it is for me. Like maybe I remember my parents were a little bit late to the game, but they had the flip phones up until like 2010 or 11 or whatever it was, sometimes around then. So like, yeah, when you grow up with the phones and then you grow up with these experiences where parents like, you know, didn't really have the protection on their phones, or like know how dangerous the internet was and all that. So I've definitely had like friends who've like experienced this, and myself as well, of like growing up and like stumbling upon this, and then what it does to the rest of your like childhood and then in early adulthood as well. And yeah, it's just a lot of guys are like, yes, glued to their phones. And also like I've noticed that like guys are more scared to talk to girls now than like, I don't know, than what I've experienced like what my older brothers say about this and the older generations. So yeah, I feel like I'm not sure like quite sure like why it is that, but like I can definitely like see it in my friends groups that like, yeah, like people are like scared to have social interactions, especially from the like in terms of like opposite sex interactions too, when you're talking to that.
Absolutely.
But
Aaron, can you kind of speak on this? You're older than us. What is the generation difference been that you've experienced?
Yeah.
Wait, how old are you again, Aaron? Like
Just
50?
turned 50. That's right. No, I just turned 30 back March 4th. It was a great day to be born. But yeah, no, when I was dating in college, things were a little different. Now, granted, the hookup culture is, of course, it's not like I'm that much older. It's still just as much prevalent as it was then as it is today. But there was more freedom, I think, in social interaction. And the porn problem, it kind of, I believe, has hit its peak. And it peaked, but it's actually continually gone up since COVID. So before COVID, when I was dating and when I was in college, it was things were a little more free in terms of social interaction because people were less dependent upon their phone and probably less hooked on sexual addiction as well.
Absolutely. Well, and this also creates a problem that, I mean, if people aren't getting together anymore, that, I mean, not even just being on your phone and consuming pornography, if you're not connecting with human beings, I mean, again, anxiety and depression rates, they skyrocket. People yearn for community and they yearn for togetherness. It's something wired in us, and it's something we need to get back to desperately.
Yeah.
So something that we try to do at Rhetoric and Reason is take a cultural issue and then apply the Catholic antidote, the Catholic solution to it. So the porn problem, we have millions of people, tens of millions of people that are viewing this every day. The porn industry is an incredibly profitable, rich industry. What was the episode or the figure that you just mentioned, Andrew?
By 2035, the adult content industry is supposed to reach $152 billion.
$152 billion.
And it grows 8.5% every single year.
$152 billion industry is what we're talking against. So what is the Catholic antidote to the porn problem? So many people think of chastity and celibacy just kind of intertwined, or it's the same thing. But what is the Catholic idea of chastity, and how does that come into play with this pornographic culture that we're up against?
I think, I mean, definitely we have in the church spiritual weapons. I mean, prayer, fasting, almsgiving. A lot of men have testified, Catholic men have testified to the rosary, a repetitive prayer to Mary, our mother. And then obviously the Holy Spirit works in your heart, but picking up a rosary daily and praying it is a very effective method to eliminating the porn addiction within your life. Confession frequently, the sacraments, Eucharist, daily Mass. There's options in the church to find healing, and the unfortunate part is a community and a culture that is so glued to their phones, that is so ignorant on Catholic teachings, just isn't finding that treasure. And I think if us as Catholics were called to instruct the ignorant, I think if we do a better job with instructing, people will seek and they will find, and they will find these solutions, and they will find the sacraments and the true healing power of Jesus Christ.
That's beautiful. Yeah, one of these analogies that I've gone back to talking about the gift, because so many people mistake the church as thinking that or that sex is something that's dirty, unholy, vile. It's like, no, the church actually upholds it as something sacred, noble, and honorable. And this is coming right from the words of the Catechism, from the Second Vatican Council's documents. There's this analogy I use, though, is that sex or sexuality is like fire. And when it's put in a fireplace, when it's given its proper framework and context, it warms a house, it brings people in, and it creates a house, a home. But when that fire is placed outside the house or in the house but not in the fireplace, it creates disarray and disorder and leads to chaos. And I think the same can be said with porn. I believe this is a quote from John Paul II. He says that the problem with sex outside of marriage is not that it reveals too much, but that it does not reveal enough of the person. I think that can be said with porn too. That there is this, everything that is sinful and is disordered starts out of a place of goodness, starts out of a place of order. This sexual drive that we have is good, and there's order to it, and it's God-given. But then when we can twist it, and it becomes something that is disordered and leads to damaging relationships within ourselves and within others. Yeah, in your guys' experience, being in this, growing up in this incredibly pornified time, what have been antidotes that you guys have personally found that's been effective to, with your ups and downs in your journey of pursuing chastity?
Chase, do you want to speak on that first?
Yeah. I'd say, I think recently has been just social media and reducing that, because social media has just been a pretty just prevalent place for promiscuity, like videos, photos, or whatever of women. And so just limiting that would be has been very helpful for me too, and just not stumbling across something that you don't want to see or whatnot. And then beyond that, probably just having that prayer life, as you were mentioning. And this, always having the hope in God that it is hard, it's a hard battle. But always having the hope that you can get through it by God's grace. And I'd say that.
I think for me, one of the biggest things was identifying the problem. Okay, so what is the problem? And the problem was I just didn't know what chastity looked like. I didn't know. I didn't have that correct and ordered image of the sexual embrace and intercourse. Going through high school and even my freshman college experience, I mean, so many people sexualize women. They pull dignity away from the human person, and to be completely honest, I've done that myself. I've sexualized people. I've womanized at times. I've had these experiences, but when I actually started to read what the Catechism had to offer and what Scripture said, was that no, sex, like you said, is a beautiful power within marriage when it's properly aligned. And within that, you can grow in chastity, but also dignity in that respect towards your spouse, towards another, is also very important. So absolutely what you said, eliminating social media. So now that I found the issue, I had to act on that. I had to delete all my social media. I had to. Removing myself from friend groups and just people that didn't align with my values within this space, within this topic, very, very fruitful, very beneficial. And just finding brothers in community that you can talk with, just about personal struggles, but also just to properly order yourself, and find out what is the truth on this very, very corrupt topic, which is sex and chastity.
Nice.
It can be so easy to be hearing this and know that the porn is a problem in your life, but you still struggle with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I tell men that there's two sins in this. One, the sin of actually consuming and watching porn, but then the second sin, which is in many ways just as deadly, and it's this sin of great shame and guilt and unworthiness, and this sin that you just hide and sulk in the fact that you've committed a sin. It's like, okay, now get up, repent, find men to go walk with, but know there is great freedom. Like that is the number one lie that I've heard in my own heart, finding freedom in this, and by God's grace, there's been tremendous freedom in my walk in chastity. But it's this lie that there is going to be no freedom. You're a man in this culture. The porn industry is way too big. It's way too powerful. Sex is everywhere. It's anywhere on social media. It's on the billboards. It's the college campus. Many college campuses are the flesh factory, especially as the spring comes out, the clothes come off, the party scene. There's just a lie, though, that the church's way of offering chastity as self-mastery, as integrity within yourself is unreachable. It's out of touch with modern man. And I think to embrace the truth that, no, it is possible. It's a challenge, and we need men, but it's possible, provides so much freedom for men.
Yeah. That's an interesting point that you bring up. Yeah, lust is absolutely everywhere, on the billboards, in advertisements. I truly believe humans today are so desensitized. I was in Mall of America this past weekend for spring break, and first floor, Victoria's Secret. It's right there, but I can't even look at it because there's just these naked women all over walking the malls. There's children walking in these malls experiencing this stuff. Look to my left. There's another fashion store. Again, naked women. It's everywhere. We are so desensitized to the sexuality of women and men that it's become a problem. This is not normal. Being this desensitized in this day and age is not normal. Naked women should not be on our billboards. They should not be in our advertisements. It's degrading to the female person. It's taking dignity away from the female person, and it's hurting. It's hurting our men, and it's hurting our culture. So yeah, we absolutely should not be as desensitized as we are.
Yeah.
But unfortunately we are.
And you don't even have to be in like such a big of like mall secular place as the Mall of America. Like I was just like your local grocery store. You see like you're checking out groceries, and then you look to your left, and there's just like magazines, whatever magazine it might be, but it's not Playboy, but it's like a magazine that like has like, a very like slimly dressed woman on it, and it's like, gosh, like I'm in my local mom and pop grocery store, and it's still like getting those smaller communities as well as the big
absolutely
popular ones.
It's everywhere, and it's becoming a problem because I fear for the next generation. I mean, they're growing up in such a time. Again, porn is everywhere. These advertisements are everywhere. The culture is completely corrupt and degraded. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we are. Within the sexual revolution, it's corrupting our eyes and our mind. And that's ultimately the manifestation of lust. So.
And there's this watering down or this cheapening of sex. And the church's position on this is that sex is sacred. It needs to be elevated, and it needs to be enshrined with a framework to protect the marital embrace, not to water it down, not to say that it's unholy, but no, quite the contrary, that it because it is so powerful and so good, that it needs to be protected as such, and needs to be governed with right rule.
Yeah, I guess I have kind of a question now for Aaron, but like you're talking about like the next generation, and like like they're gonna have it even worse. But like, yeah, like experiencing this now as like young men, like in the thick of it right now, like how do you take away from like what you're experiencing here and the struggles you face here, and now like teach it and protect your kids with like with that, and how do you protect them from like the pornography and whatever it may be like that's threatening
the normalization of porn
and all that, and like how do you, and I don't know if you've thought about it much, you still got young kids, but like when Andrew said that, I was like, dang, like how do I take this experience now that I'm experiencing and learn from it to be able to teach it to like my kids and for protection and like to teach it correctly and how the church teaches it as well. So
yeah, no, I have 3 kids at home, 6, 4, 2, and 1 on the way. 1 coming in
Congratulations.
Thanks.
yes, let's go.
One of the things I was very convicted by in even my pursuit of chastity with my wife when we were dating was the fact of men being called to protect, right? And I knew that my wife was probably, or my girlfriend at the time was probably not going to be getting mugged, or there's probably not going to be violence in the streets, although we were living in Minnesota, so. But one of the things I was convicted of is I was supposed to protect her from my own disordered desire, and even I had the kind of the sight of 10 years down the road having this conviction that one day we would be married, and yes, we got married, to be able to provide just my own experience, my own hardship, my own struggle in pursuing chastity and God's grace in that, to be able to walk my kids through that when they came of age and got into their teenage years, to not only say, yeah, here's the church's position on it, here's chastity, but no, to say, here's my struggle and here's how I found freedom and the path for this. So the long-winded way of saying, I think it starts with us to protect our kids. We should be starting well before we are even dating, and well before we're married and have kids. And it starts with our own self-mastery and admitting and acknowledging where we fall short, and not kicking your own butt over the ways in which we've fallen in these areas, but finding the healing and forgiveness and a way forward that leads to freedom.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. I mean, I've even had thoughts of my own self that, Lord, you entrust me to these women. Lord, you entrust me to a woman. Ultimately, when I'm called to marriage and have a wife, but I'm stronger than her. I have physical power over her. I have these strong impulses and strong desires, and from a secular view, in some ways I fear myself. You know, what if I don't? What if I'm not disciplined? What if I don't have mastery over self? So, and I think a lot of really good men have had that thought, but ultimately, I loved what you said. It's about self mastery and discipline and controlling your impulses. Men have a great responsibility on their life to protect, provide, and lead. And when it does become disordered, you have things like fornication, rape, all the way from even more heinous crimes to violence and stuff like that. So there's a fire that men have, and a lot of times, especially when it's disordered and it's when it's brought to a incomplete mean, you find a lot of destruction. So I think men should absolutely work on discipline, self-mastery.
So elaborate more on that. Custody of the senses. We talked a little bit about social media and maybe the freedom that came from getting off of that, but how do we have custody of the senses so that this doesn't spiral and become this crazy outblown addiction that leads to other violence?
Yeah. I think it just goes back to finding the truth, and writing a moral code on your heart. You know, for me personally, it's the Catholic faith. It's choosing the good over the evil, and it's choosing the greater over the lesser. And that I've had struggles even in my own life with that experience, but I wrestle with God every day on that. And even picking up practical stuff like working out, discipline of the mind, reading, academics. Physical and mental disciplines can definitely help in that space.
Why have you found that to be helpful? Yeah. Working out, reading.
Well, what we've already discussed is that men have this fire within themselves, and if it's disorderly tailored, again it becomes destructive. Either if that's rape, violence, etc. But when you work out and you pick up these disciplines, you tailor it towards something greater, something better. So even in my own life, I work out physically. To stay disciplined, I read. To grow in knowledge, again, staying disciplined. But it's about picking things that progress you forward and that call you higher. I can't speak on every man, but definitely in weightlifting helps a lot. But definitely pick up a discipline that can forge you to be called higher and be greater.
There's so much to be said on that. When I talk to men who are struggling in this area, I will often tell them, everyone just wants the quick fix. Hey, how do I find freedom in not watching porn? And I'll usually give them the advice of, tomorrow, get up at 5 a.m. and work out. Like, well, what's that have to do with porn? Or I'll say, when you want that snack this weekend, or that extra meal you don't need, that late night meal, don't eat it. Like, I'm talking about porn, not food, not working out, but this is so interconnected of training the mind, and the appetites, your emotions, that your will and your intellect, your higher faculties are governing and are in charge. And you can do that through these little ways, and you can habituate it to start to find real freedom in this area of chastity.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately that is the virtue of just temperance. Just properly orientating your desires,
Right.
To progress you forward.
Right.
And I liked how you said, if you want a little late night snack, don't eat it. So saying no, the power of no is so great.
Right.
But a lot of people think that you should say yes to everything, and it will bring you all these great opportunities. That's incorrect. If you say no and you build temperance in that kind of discipline, it can bring you a lot farther than a good yes. So.
And the yes that the church proposes that we make through the quote unquote no of chastity is this yes to authentic Christ-like masculine love, where we are free to give ourselves and we have mastery over our lower faculties. It's not just no sex because sex is bad. No, it's ordering our appetites to the highest good, which is such a key thing, I think, to keep in mind when we're talking about porn and chastity. It can be so easy to be viewed as just a no, but no, it's actually a greater yes. Yeah. So going back to the dating culture, the difference maybe between the generational difference of these 7-8 years of an age gap that I have with you guys, what's been your guys' experience dating? What advice would you give men that are maybe have just sat online to try to find a girl and don't even know how to start talking to women? What advice would you say to pursue women well, even in just friendship?
That's a good one. Well, firstly, I think you just gotta get out and not be afraid and just be confident. And I think it takes a little bit of practice. I have this buddy who I was with last week in Florida. His name's JP, so shout out JP if he's watching this. But he's just incredible at talking to women now, because he just went out and he's got a girlfriend, by the way, so he doesn't do this anymore. But he has one because he went out and puts himself out there and says it how it is, and says, hey, he goes to the coffee shop, he sees a cute girl or whatever it is, he goes up and introduces himself, hey, can I get to know you for a couple minutes, where are you from? And then at the end he's like, okay, clear intentions, hey, I thought you were really pretty and I want to get your number to take you on a date. And he just does this, and he gets rejected all the time, but he doesn't let that bring him down. It's just good to practice that and good to get out there and connect with someone for a sec and then not be afraid to make it ask. So I feel like I've seen that a lot from him and in my own life too. It's hard, but then you just got to do it. And
just ask.
Yeah. I mean, this is monkey language. Don't think, just do it. But it's true though. It's you do it and you get better at it, and you also learn that it's all right if you get a no, because I think a lot of guys are kind of scared of getting rejected or whatever, which rightfully so, but that's not how it should be. You should be not caring if this girl doesn't like you or not. It should be you should be happy you put yourself out there and had the courage to go do it, and if she doesn't like you, then so be it. Like that's how it is. But
Yeah, and
just keep doing it.
many no's can lead you to a great yes. Aaron, how many women did you date before you found your wife to be?
Really 3. Nothing that serious though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you just gotta chip away. Well, my answer to your question, Aaron, would all right. First, you gotta get off the computer and quit watching porn. I mean, that's such a corrupt act that you're doing. You're taking energy and power away from yourself.
That'll give you more confidence too.
Yeah.
In
Well,
the beginning, so
go work out. Quit being lazy. Quit being fat. That'll give you more confidence too. Forging your mind. It brings a lot of confidence to yourself, and just like what you said, Chase. Go out, ask, have confidence. Women love when men are direct and decisive. Hi, my name's Andrew Sickman. I'd like to take you on a date. Women love that. Maybe they won't tell you that, but in their heart, they know it to be true. Be direct, be decisive. Tell them your intentions right away. Don't waste your time. And if you're scared, I mean, every great thing is over the hump of fear. So you just gotta go and you gotta pursue. I mean, don't waste your time. Don't take power away from yourself, and just go out and do.
Yeah, I just playing devil's advocate here. What are like a lot of like girls don't like to be approached nowadays though. So I don't know if you guys have any like experience with this, but like what do you do for like the girl? Like maybe you are doing the right thing, going out and being confident. But maybe you're just getting no's because like the girl doesn't like just like being approached or is not used to, because no one does anymore. So this is me like obviously I lay on the side of like you just got to do it anyways. If they're a little bit uncomfortable, like okay, that's not on you really. Like it's still, all you can do is go make the action. But I've definitely like also been in the way of like okay, I just get like I don't even have the chance to have the conversation as well. So which doesn't happen all the time, but like more often than not, I feel like it sometimes, yeah.
The culture you're talking about is a phenomenon called it was the Me Too movement. It was this movement that women were scared of men, and women were not wanting to be approached by men because they thought they were going to get hurt and harmed. I'm not very educated on this, but this movement was probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it was a thought that if men approach me, they have bad intentions. And obviously that scares off a lot of women.
Yeah.
But now the culture is actually being flipped, where a lot of women now want to be approached by men, and they understand that a lot of men are starting to wake up, and actually they're developing good intentions to date, to engage to marry. So I would actually push back on that notion. But even in like individual cases, if a woman says no and it's a firm no, and it's an authentic no. Because a lot of them do like to, play cat and mouse. But if it is a true no, then, just move on. I mean, no big deal. I mean, go find another one, So it's case dependent, but I think the culture is definitely shifting in that space for sure.
I think another thing to be careful of too is, and like why guys might also be like afraid of this, it's just like circling back to the porn topic. It's like, yeah, like the first statistic you brought up, like 90% of men have used porn or consumed it or whatnot. And like a lot of that too is what that porn trains you to do. And it trains you to like objectify the woman. Right. So you almost like a lot of guys like, kind of like feel like, oh shoot, I can't do that. Cause like, that's kind of like weird. Cause they have this like mindset that they're objectifying them, or like by like going and calling them pretty. And they're kind of like fearful in their own like feelings. And like, yeah, that porn just trains you to do that, to think of like, oh, okay, like I can't. It's like almost a overcorrection of like, okay, right. I'm watching porn, I'm like objectifying these women, so I can't do it in real life now, even if I do find like I'm attracted to them, because you're almost like self-guilty or whatever, or yeah, and you just don't want to do that because you're scared that and shameful that you may like, I don't know, be attracted to a woman like that. And I think that's another like result of the porn culture. And
the psychological effects of finding freedom in porn from watching porn are immense. I mean, in my life, those years ago, I think there's 2 thoughts and 2 things I held to be true, and I struggled with porn, was that all men were pigs. They were they just wanted ill intent for women. They wanted to objectify women, right? And that women were just trying to word this well. But it's just so easy to objectify him. If I was objectifying him on a screen, how was I not going to objectify him in real life, in my thoughts? And I think getting off of that and finding freedom from porn just began to heal my mind in so many ways, to allow me to see what I always knew to be true, that women are the highest point of God's creation, that they are sacred, that they are daughters. But that actually, like, something switched in my mind and my heart, that when I foregone that addiction to porn, and same with myself too. I no longer thought of myself as this man that couldn't control his instinct or his appetite, and other men. That was foundational for me to date well and to pursue women well. I think, and now, you can kind of overcompensate in some ways of, the dating scene is so bad, so that men, we just need to be super direct. We need to ask 5 girls a week until we find a girlfriend, until we get married. It's like, no, like there's goodness in just developing the friendships that you have with the women and the men in your circles already, and just letting authentic friendships play out that aren't sexualized, that aren't romantic, and then from there, seeing the women that are in your life, and asking them to go out on a date. That by way of saying, you don't need to, just because you see a pretty girl doesn't mean you have to go, to be a good man, drop everything and go ask her on a date.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the sexual revolution culture, it's just pushing this notion that women should be objectified and there's just these objects. I mean, that's so far from the truth. Women are these beautiful creatures created by God. I mean, I even think of the women in my own life. They're so caring, so loyal, empathetic. They treat me so well. I think of people like my mother, my grandmother, to even my friends, my cousins, and just other women I've had encounters with. Women are these spectacular compliments in these creatures to men. And this is why the sexual revolution is so sad, because if people understood the truth and the notion, again, the Catholic Church does push, but this notion that women are this true and beautiful creation, and that they complement men so well, if they truly understood that, I believe they would reject pornography and reject the objectification of women, again, which is a manifestation of lust, and our culture is filled with lust. So,
yeah.
So maybe you're listening and you're thinking, how can I begin to take steps of freedom? I want to see women as sacred. I know that to be true. I know women as good, but my actions don't always follow. Right? What are practical ways we can give someone that's maybe tuning in today a few steps to start finding freedom in sexual addiction, so that they can find the truth of the sacredness of both men and women, but in a particular way, men that are struggling in addiction, to find the truth of who women are.
Yeah. Chase, go ahead.
Well, number one, stop porn, however that is. That may be obvious after listening so far, but yeah, however you can do that, whether it's with accountability partners, not bringing your phone at night, not having social media. Software to lock you out of stuff that would make you to act out in lust.
Yeah, Covenant Eyes is a great product.
Yep.
Yeah,
number two, how do you heal that relationship with women? Is over time, I think, having conversations with them, building friendships, as you were saying earlier, and not going out to every girl and being like, okay, I only can date a girl or not. It's just no, have a friendship with them and get to know them as a friend, with no romantic intentions or not. And through that, I think you can see a lot of the beauty of femininity, is beauty of woman without the objectification, and that takes time, I think, after getting through the addiction. But yeah, what would you add on to that?
I
so
even
far?
think counterintuitively that getting a getting into a relationship with a significant other, a partner, it also has very tremendous benefits. There's a lot of men who struggle with pornography even when they have girlfriends, fiancés, and they're in marriage. But we know that there's a lot of graces that come in the sacrament of marriage that actually help break the bonds of that addiction. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely counterintuitively as well. I mean, there's steps you gotta take to obviously get a girlfriend, get a significant other, etc. But there's a lot of benefit to relating to the opposite sex.
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading a stat that divorce goes up by about 50% for those people that are actively struggling and engaged with porn. And that's across the board. That's 50% for both men and women. The likelihood of divorce if you enter into marriage with a porn problem. And the same goes if you are already married and have a porn problem. So I think there's not many people. There's a smaller subset of people that are like, championing that and prideful about their porn problem. A lot of men hold this with some level of secrecy and shame. And a lot of men also want freedom in this, but I think there's been a struggle to find freedom, and maybe it's a worldview. It's this cheapening down of sex, and the church proposes that sex can never, the two meanings can never be dissolved or divided or divorced, and the two meanings are procreation and unity, and you can't separate those two things, and that's what porn does, that's what contraception does, but when you hold those things in tension together, and that you understand that sex is something that's sacred, I think just that worldview, something that helped me tremendously was Jason Everett and his work, the Chastity Project. So much just intellectual framework kind of built out to give me the conviction to put into place, whether it was getting off social media and other blockers, to finding freedom, whether it was getting back into working out and reading other books and putting myself around godly men that were striving after it too. But a lot of it, our mind is such a powerful tool. And if we feed it the truth, if we feed it proper understanding of these things, I think we can be amazed at what men are capable of.
Yeah. 2 points just to add there. Another thing that also decreases your chance of divorce, etc., is cohabitation with your significant other before marriage.
Decreases or increases?
Increases the chance of divorce. And then also significant others before marriage as well, sexually. So these are a lot of things to think about before you enter into marriage with a significant other. Is the fornication problem, the porn problem, and then are you cohabiting with your significant other? If you want a good relationship, a long-lasting relationship, these are things to think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So okay, the church says there's 4 marks to married love. It's free, it's total, it's faithful, and the 4th is fruitfulness. I often like to think of this like a triangle or like a 3-legged stool. You have freedom, you have faithfulness, and you have and totalness, and through that, then the fruitfulness comes from those 3 things. How do we find that kind of love in this society? And I think maybe going back to that dating bit, I met a lot of women and plenty of women that aren't even Christian. I think that want something more out of men. They want men to lead, and they want men to lead with integrity, with virtue. Even if they're not coming from a Christian background, I think more women than less want men to lead in chastity even. What's your guys' opinion and take on that even non-Christian women want men that have this virtue?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think like having the men are usually, even in secular relationships or the men are kind of still the initiators just by biology, or just I feel like so. I think that's why it is important for a man to be the lead in chastity, and usually it's just like doing the hard thing and like setting the boundaries, and yeah, I don't know, like setting the boundaries of the relationship, of the things that they can protect, your chasteness, your chastity in your relationship. Yeah. Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah. I have this hunch that more women than less want men that are willing to lead in chastity, even if the woman comes from an irreligious background, no Christian faith.
Yeah.
Why might that be so? That women are desiring this virtue in specific for men, especially in this time.
Well, I think it's because men are the ones on average failing this more than the woman, right? And I think the woman can sense that, but our natural deepest desires want love, and like I think a lot of women are starting to realize, like in secularly, religious, non-religious, whatever it is, that this unchasteness, this sleeping around, this just being used is not love. And I think our culture, after like 30 plus years of this, it seems like, I mean, past my life, this has just been growing, the sexual sin of the United States, and then like beyond that. And I think women nowadays are kind of, maybe it's by like just through the experiencing the worst of it, they're realizing that like, oh, like sleeping around, or it's just not like, doesn't make me whole. And it's just that deepest desire in the hearts of women and men that like, just temporary fleeting pleasure isn't going to make them whole. And it's that desire for something more, for something lasting, that they want from men, that men are failing in, which is ultimately we know is like love.
Yes.
I don't know if that made sense at all, but I'm trying to string it all together of like, I think just to put it simply, like they desire love. Like even if you're don't know who God is, don't know what your purpose is, you still have that desire for love. And so that's a rightful desire from the woman to want like men to be better and actually like provide that, because like on average, again, like you look at the statistics, men are failing on that more often than the women.
Maybe a follow up off of that, and then we could.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes here left.
Follow up off that, and we'll kind of finish through a little conclusion.
Yeah.
What would be? How would you defend the church's position as chastity is something good, as something worthy to be pursued with an irreligious person, someone that does not know God, doesn't want to pursue God, at least at this time in their life? Why is chastity good for everyone, not just a Catholic that might be listening?
Yeah. I'd say it's just the ability to love someone without coercion, like to love someone without needing something from them.
Yes. It's healing.
And I would probably just bring up, like, have you ever had an experience where you gave someone something without ever like wanting something back?
Yes.
And how good you felt when the person you gave that to like received that gift well. And like I've heard this put it this way before, of like, it's just the ability, chastity is the ability to give something without wanting anything back.
Yes.
And when someone experiences that, when you experience that, like it's love, and it's the greatest thing that you can do for someone. And then bouncing back, that returns to you through that action.
That is how Christ did it through his church and to his church. We gotta conclude here, but just final concluding thoughts. As of 2023, Pornhub reported that 2 billion users access the site globally. 90% of men, again, consume porn. 60% of women. 1 in 3 visitors of porn sites are women. 25% of all internet search queries are porn related, and porn is one of the biggest growing industries. Like we already said, $152 billion industry projected by 2035. It's corrupting our children. It's corrupting our teenagers, our adults, our men, our women. It hurts everyone. It's a disgusting and corrupt culture that we live in, and we absolutely need it to change. Rhetoric and Reason, episode 1. Chase, thank you so much.
Thank you.